Welcome back to the shop. This is my new bandsaw, my new broken bandsaw. I bought it from the auction. I probably paid more than I should have for it. It started out, I was going to limit it $75, and I was really excited. And then it was $85, and then $95, and then I want a table, and then I want another table. And I had to go there anyway, and I said, I really wanted a bandsaw. Am I really going to find a better deal? How long am I going to wait around? And I'll sell my other bandsaw, a little one up there. So I ended up paying about $200 for this thing with the stand, which is, you're going to probably knock me in the comments, rightly so. Anyway, whatever. I spent worse money on other things, so I bought it. I was pretty excited, and the table that I bought is really neat, sort of heavy. It's for patio, so it's really not shop related. So I told the guy that works there, one of the loading guys, would you mind giving me a hand moving the table and then this bandsaw? And he grabbed the top of the bandsaw. And anybody who's ever owned a bandsaw, this is not, it's a work surface. You set things on it, you don't lift with it most of the time. And I had assumed that the guy knew what he was doing. I don't know a lot about these. I just didn't seem right to me, and next thing you know, bam, it snaps the top of it off. And I can't blame the guy too much. He's just working there, and at least he's working, so I give him that much. I give him $5 for helping me, and said thanks, and just left it at that. So he doesn't need me yelling at him. That doesn't fix anything. A little frustrating, but okay. My rant aside, now I'm going to go ahead and take the base off, and we'll go ahead and look at it. And there is, we'll find out more in a little bit. You know as much as I do at this point, but there's some sort of schmoo here. So it might not have been the guy's fault entirely. There may have been some prior damage. Well, we'll do a little bit of inspection and see where we're at. But let me go ahead and pop this top off, and we'll go over to the bench and see what we need to do. So here's the table. There is some evidence of schmoo in there. It looks like a little bit of JB Weld or JB Quick, something on that end. And then it's a clean break on this side. So again, I should apologize if the guy is one of the 8 people that watches this video. It's not entirely your fault, and the honest mistake. So again, I don't mean to go on and on about it, but let's go ahead and break this whole thing down and get a better look at where we're at with it. Before I get too far, the mechanism is on an eccentric here, on a cam, and you see the dial there. So if you want to go ahead and tilt the table, that's what this mechanism is for. Worst case scenario, we tram this thing in, get it nice and square with the blade, and it does no longer have that option, but it does not get too far ahead of us. We'll go ahead and disassemble this and see what we... I'm typically not this hard-headed, but the internet has got too much information sometimes. So I've got these aluminum brazing rods, no flux required, say 710 degrees working temp. I think I can get that with the butane. I doubt, I'm 99% sure it's not going to work. And instead of wasting an hour on the internet going down some rabbit hole, finding people say it works, it doesn't work, I'm just going to try it. What's the worst thing that can happen? It's already broken. So I was looking at my Instagram, and Scout Crafter said, just do away with the beveling action, and that sounds like really good advice. So I'm going to dig around and see what kind of scrap metal I have in here, and we'll see if we can't fabricable an adapter here. I want to use this cast steel top on here, but I just will make an adapter somehow that bolts onto here. God, I don't know what I'm going to do because I need to tie these bolts down. Anyway, I've got to think my way through it a little bit, but I think his idea is outstanding. I'm going to go ahead and try to do away with this because the brazing rods that I had just didn't work at all. I've used a transfer punch to mark the holes from the old broken off bracket. We'll punch some holes on here and then just sort of plug our way through this. So that blade is going to go right here, but then we need to bring it up to get over this guide. I could probably use a new bearing. So we're going to cut this off in a bandsaw. Alright, Clay's gonna plasma cut through this. We need to cut a relief in here for the blade. So there's the plate welded on there. Yeah, I'm a horrible welder, but it'll work. These are called tires. Urethane belts. Hopefully they fit on here. Ooh, what a pain in the butt. Now I managed to get a screwdriver underneath here. It's a little hard to not be in the way. And that's centered the belt on there better. So hopefully that helps keep the bandsaw blade on, because at first when it was offset it wasn't working at all. Alright, I think I've got it tracking straight when I turn it around by hand. So I'm going to shut the doors and turn it on and stand out of the way, because I don't want to have this thing go flying. Ah! Let me get some wood. So it's not perpendicular the way, there's just so much slop in my design and the table and all that these are probably not anywhere close to being accurate. But in terms of it being perpendicular, I think that's as close as I was hoping. It really, I don't see any daylight in there. So that's nice and perpendicular, which was my goal. And this saw is not a real workhorse or anything like that, but it's quite a bit beefier than my little 9-inch saw. I know people are going to ask me about converting this into a cutting metal. From what I've read, that these saws just aren't rigid enough. There's just not enough meat that you can get the real high tensions that you need for bandsaw blades, for metal cutting bandsaw blades. So it's sort of be fruitless to go through and spend all the time putting a slower speed motor, because you want to have less feet per second and more teeth with the blade to cut metal, when you're not going to get the blade tight enough. And I have, well, I'll show you the other bandsaw here in a second for those of you that are new to the channel. But anyway, this I erred on my measuring of the sort of centroid of this plate here. Not a big deal. I don't necessarily know exactly why. It should have enough clearance when I do have a smaller blade, if I want to do ornate cuts, almost like scroll saw work. But I'll have to remake this plate on another day, see if I can buy one. And but that's it. That's it's just a a little goof up manufacturing the or carrying this thing, and this is pretty sturdy. You know, that the size metal in there is far sturdier than this needs to be. So it's a nice rigid setup, and I'll be happy to have this thing. So let me show you my metal bandsaw while I'm here. So the distinction between the woodworking bandsaw and the metal bandsaw is the rigidity between the two wheels. You can see that this housing is all steel, that this can take a tremendous amount of pressure, and that the wheels here do not have tires on them. They are straight metal on metal contact. So this is under that's guitar string tight, and there's nothing that can heat up or stretch those nylon or whatever those orange belts are. I don't think they'd hold up with some of the higher heats that go on with this bandsaw blade. And but anyway, this saw when I got it from my grandfather's shop, he had bolted a metal plate onto this section and actually had propped this up and used this as a vertical bandsaw for cutting metal. I don't see any reason. I don't really do any. You're not going to do any curved work with this, so I've been happy to use it. Just as it's designed to be used. But again, I just wanted to show you the distinction between the rigidity of this one and then the other one. I just realized I didn't get a good shot of the casting for this. This is all cast, so it is pretty rigid in terms of, as opposed to this one, it's all stamped steel with a little dinky tubing. So it'll be much more rigid, less of a propensity for it to get that huge curve or huge bow in the blade. So I can get some pretty good tension on it, but not nearly as tight as that metal bandsaw. And that's it. If you're interested in the metal bandsaw, I did I think a 2-part video on that one, and basically me just cleaning it and painting it. But that's it. So I just wanted to show you my new toy. I want to say thanks for watching and thanks for subscribing. Hope you're having a good night.